You probably know someone like this. Conversations turn towards someone who isn't in the room, and they just don't engage. No pile on, no, well, since you brought it up. They redirect, stay quiet, or change the subject entirely. It can almost feel unnatural because gossip is everywhere. In offices, group chats, family dinners. Researchers estimate it makes up a huge share of everyday conversation. So what's actually different about the people who opt out of it? The research points to something more specific than they're just nicer.
5 real psychological patterns explain it. Let's break them down. They're resisting a powerful evolutionary pull. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar's research proposed that gossip isn't a modern character flaw. It's an evolved social tool. His work found that as human groups grew too large for physical grooming to maintain social bonds, language, and specifically gossip, took over that bonding function instead. Dunbar's studies estimated that a large share of everyday conversation, across cultures, across contexts, revolves around other people's lives and behavior, not as noise, but as the social glue holding shifting group alliances together. That's what makes not gossiping harder than it looks. People who opt out aren't just avoiding an occasional bad habit. By Dunbar's research, they're going against a communication pattern that's deeply built into how humans have always maintained social bonds.
2. They have strong trait self-control. Psychologists Roy Baumeister and June Tangney ran extensive research on what they called trait self-control, a stable individual difference in the ability to override impulses, including social ones. Their research, published in 2004, found that people high in trait self-control reported better relationships, fewer interpersonal conflicts, and notably less involvement in behaviors that damage trust, gossip, and rumor spreading among them. The impulse to comment, react, or add a detail about someone else often shows up automatically in the moment. Baumeister and Tangney's data suggests the difference isn't that some people never feel that impulse, it's that some people are simply better practiced at catching it before it becomes a sentence.
3. Their sense of right and wrong is part of their identity. Psychologists Carl Aquino and Americus Reed introduced a concept in 2002 called moral identity. How central being a moral person is to someone's actual sense of self, as opposed to being a value they hold abstractly. Their research found that people high in moral identity centrality act consistently with their values even when nobody's watching, and even when social pressure points the other way, because violating those values would feel like a threat to who they are, not just a minor lapse. For someone with high moral identity centrality, gossiping about an absent person doesn't just feel like a rule broken. Aquino and Reed's research suggests it registers as a small disconnect from their own identity, which is a much stronger deterrent than simply knowing gossip is not nice. 4. They practice real perspective taking. Psychologist Mark Davis developed the Interpersonal Reactivity Index in 1983, one of the most widely used tools for measuring empathy, including a specific component called perspective taking, the ability to genuinely imagine a situation from someone else's point of view. Davis's research found that perspective taking isn't just a warm feeling. It's a cognitive skill that activates before a behavior happens, functioning almost like a filter, imagining how a comment would land on the person it's about before the comment gets made. People who consistently opt out of gossip tend to run that filter automatically. Davis's framework suggests they're not working harder to be kind in the moment. They're running a perspective check most people skip entirely.
5.
They understand that trust is built through discretion. Researcher Brené Brown's work on trust identified specific behavioral components that determine whether people feel safe with each other, one of which she called the vault, the practice of not sharing what isn't yours to share, including information about other people. Her research found that trust erodes fastest, not through big betrayals, but through small, repeated breaches of discretion. Hearing someone gossip about a third party quietly teaches the listener that their own information isn't safe either. People who never gossip are usually operating on exactly this logic, whether they've read the research or not. Every conversation they don't have about someone else is, by Brown's model, a deposit into how safe they're perceived to be to talk to.
Not gossiping was never really about having nothing to say. Across 5 very different bodies of research, it looks more like a combination, resisting a deeply wired social habit, stronger than average impulse control, a moral identity that doesn't bend under social pressure, an empathy filter running before words come out, and an understanding that discretion is what trust is actually made of. None of that makes these people boring or detached from the social world around them. If anything, the research suggests the opposite. They're often the person people trust with the most, precisely because they've never given anyone a reason not to.
The version of connection that skips gossip isn't a smaller version. By this research, it might be the more durable one. If you're into the psychology behind trust, character, and the hidden patterns behind everyday behavior, subscribe. Because here, we don't just describe behavior. We trace it back to the research.